Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Rabble podcast and our Academy review. I hope you're all well. Hope you're all doing good. I'm joined by, of course, Mr. RFC Youth Updates himself, William Urban. William, how are you?
I'm good, mate. It's been quite a busy day, so I'm enjoying the relaxation. I guess sitting on the bed.
Has it been less relaxing recently watching the B team?
No, I would like to say it has, but I would be absolutely lying, to be honest. It was a long trip to Berwick for a really poor performance and result, so the trip home was fun. And then obviously the weekend never get any better after that. So yeah, it's been a fun last kind of 4 or 5 days to say the least.
Excuse me. Well, let's start on a positive. A big positive. We'll come to the Morocco tournament in a wee second, but obviously there was quite a few players from the B team away to that, and we got a very, very good 2-0 win over Trinent.
Yeah, look, that was obviously the start. I thought that would be a really difficult game, especially with Zach and Bailey being away with the first team at Livingston that day. But I thought we played really well, especially in the first half. We moved the ball really well, scored a couple of good goals. We created quite a lot of chances. Second half, we just kind of kept them at bay, basically. We didn't really allow them to really get too close into the game. They got a couple of players sent off late in the game because they seem to kind of lose the plot a wee bit. Their fans weren't the best pleased either. They were giving the referee quite a bit of abuse. Some of it I've not heard before at a B team game, I've got to be honest. It was a bit kind of raucous, I think you could say. But look, at the end of the day, if somebody had offered us the 2-0 win with Zach and Bailey being away, they certainly snatched it off you. And you know, so to win the game 2-0 was great. I think it was a big boost for the players as well. You know, I think there's a lot made of when certain players are in the team and there's a kind of expectation maybe that when some guys drop out, maybe they don't think they're going to have the same levels. But I thought against Trinent we played really well. So certainly without Zach and Bailey, I don't think it showed on the pitch because I thought our levels were good. I thought our quality was good. And to be honest with you, it could have been a few more goals on the day, but 2-0 was still a very good result.
There was lots of people, not lots of people. There was a few people on Twitter, claiming that it was going to be I think somebody said an all under 17s team that was going to be out in the games that the B team were over in Morocco. How many regular B team players were we missing?
Well, officially, obviously, the only game we played, and that was just after the Morocco tournament finished, was against Berwick. And basically, the only guys that were missing from the starting 11 that would have played potentially was Zach and Bailey. But I mean, basically the same 11, apart from Jack Hartness, played the game against Trinent and it played against Berwick. So the only change for that game against Berwick was Jack Hartness out and Kelsey Ewan come in. That was the only change to the starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that Rangers had beat a Trinent team that were pushing to try and win the league to then play against Berwick. So I don't know who the person was that was making that thing out on Twitter, but he obviously didn't really know what he was talking about. He can probably claim that the fact Berwick won 3-0 and he was right, but his actual facts on the squad and the under 17 thing was nonsense, to be perfectly honest with you.
You made the long trip to Berwick. I don't want to know how fast Gordon was driving, especially on the way back. But what happened then? 3-0 defeat. Was it just one of those days?
We were just poor, if I'm honest. We were just poor. First half, we lost a goal from a set play, which has been working a problem all season. So I thought it was a soft free kick. I thought the guy went down quite easily, but yet again, we didn't defend the ball into the box. Second one, I think the referee was the only person on the pitch that thought it was a penalty, but he gave it. They scored. It was 2-0. I expected a response in the second half, and we got a slight response, but it wasn't anything near what was needed in the game. And then late on, the guy scored a good third goal, but on the day where passing was poor, where quality in the final third was poor, still get those same problems from balls into the box, which really hasn't changed all season, if I'm honest. We've had the odd good game where we've defended our box well, but in general this season, it has been a real issue, and it showed up against Berwick, and they'd obviously watched us enough times to know that. So every opportunity they got to put that ball in the box, we just looked a wee bit ragged, to be honest.
I was going to say, is it worrying? But we're still sitting, obviously, second in the league. But I think it's too unfair to say, has it been like this all season? Because as we continuously say on this, these are majority young boys playing against men. But in terms of the season so far, if we take that Berwick game and the Trinent game, a very, very good 2-0 win, a really, really disappointing 3-0 loss. Has it just been inconsistent this season, do you feel, for the B team?
I think it's difficult because obviously guys are dropping in and out of the squad from time to time, so that obviously doesn't help. I really genuinely don't know if having Zach and Bailey would have made a difference against Berwick. I just thought we were that poor. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse. Berwick totally deserved to win the game. I think our biggest problem this year is that we've just conceded too many goals. I think we've just never felt as though we were settled in the centre back position. We've changed it up quite a bit. We've obviously John Lee in there. We've had Connor Allen in there. We've had Alex Kapapke that's obviously come into the club not so long ago. We've had Lewis McKinnon. We've had Greg Allen. We've kind of shifted guys about, and it's not really worked, to be honest with you. We've not really had enough games where the same players have played back to back to back, if you know what I mean. And I don't think that helps long term when you're playing. It's good to have a back five that kind of know each other, like kind of game in, game out. And that's yet again been one of the problems just in the 18s. Guys have kind of dropped in and dropped out, and it's not ideal. But for me this season, it has just been the poor defending that's been the harsh reality of that league. And if we can't defend at that level, it would worry you if we're going to move up the levels and play against better teams, because if that level of opposition in the lower league can hurt us, what would a League One team or a Championship team do? And that's where we need to continue to look at and focus, because I think going forward we are a good team. I think we'll obviously in the main create a good amount of chances. We will score goals in most games, but we just need to stop conceding so many goals. That has been our biggest problem all season, to be honest.
If anybody watching's got any questions or thoughts that they want to get in, then please do get it in the comment section. Please also give the show a like, and if you're not already subscribed, then please do subscribe. Excuse me, as well. You mentioned Alex Cappy there, William. I've only seen him once, and I spoke to the manager after the game. What's been your kind of first impressions of him?
He looks like a guy that hasn't played football in a while. I think that was the first thing that stood out. Obviously, we saw Alex in a bounce game against Queen's Park, which he did okay, to be fair to him. And then the club obviously gave him a contract until the summer. They've gradually built up his fitness to a level where he's been able to play some matches, he's been able to come off the bench and stuff like that. But I think it's still fair to say that he looks a little bit off where he would need to be if the club are looking to extend his contract. And I think that's a difficult thing when obviously there's not many games left in the Lowland League now as well. And if you're totally honest about it, we probably need to win every single Lowland League game between now and the end of the season if we want to win the league. So that's the thing. It's difficult to then bring players in and expect them to perform when they're not actually playing that many games. Obviously, the Glasgow Cup game was cancelled yesterday, which was disappointing because that would have possibly been an opportunity for Alex to play just to get some minutes. But I mean, like the next two games, you've got Cumbernauld Colts on Saturday in the Lowland League, and then you've got Rangers Celtic in the Glasgow Cup. I mean, Alex realistically isn't going to play in those two games.
Mm-hmm.
So when does he play next? And this is the problem you've got. Well, you're trying to get guys up to fitness, but they also need to play.
Well, see if we're actually, and I've got the league table up in front of me here, right? So if we're looking at the league table, Spartans are in first, Rangers in second. We're a point behind Spartans with the same amount of games played. Then Celtic are in third place. They're 3 points behind us, but they've got a game in hand and they've got, a better goal difference. There is, Aldo's asking in the comments, if I can just find it, is the league definitely gone or is there still a chance? For me, William, there's not many games left. I think we're still in with a chance.
Well, I mean, the reality is we're now in the final phase of the season. We've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's 6 games we've got left, if if my thing's right on my page, because I'm always trying to update it. There could be something missing. But we've got 6 games and we probably need to win all 6. I think Spartans are still to play Stirling Uni as well, so that could be the game that turns or twists something there. But realistically, we need to win our remaining games, which are against Cumbernauld Colts, Edinburgh Uni, Caledonian Braves, Celtic, Stirling Uni, and then the final game of the season is away to East Stirlingshire. So we need to win all of those games if we've got any chance of trying to win the league.
So the hardest game in amongst all that, to me, William, would be Stirling Uni.
Yeah, look, Stirling Uni have been unbelievable this year, to be honest with you. They've certainly been the kind of dark horse. I don't think anybody would have seen them finishing where they currently are in the league. I think the Rangers Celtic game at Ibrox is always going to be big. But obviously Rangers having the home advantage, I think, is a big thing. Hopefully a big crowd at Ibrox that day would be absolutely phenomenal, especially to back the boys. I think even the last game of the season against East Stirlingshire is not going to be easy. A wee trip to the Falkirk Stadium, I think it is, they play. So
Yeah,
that will be a tough game. But yeah, Stirling Uni, it's going to be a tough end to the season. The boys just need to find a way of winning the remaining 6 games in that league while playing some Glasgow Cup ties as well.
Well, obviously you said, look, the Cumbernauld Colts game on Saturday's at 12.
Yep.
So it's before the Rangers game. So I know you would, but I will as well. I would advise anybody who can get along to Dumbarton and go and support the B team. Tickets aren't that expensive, Willie, are they?
I think it's like £7 or £8 from memory. I bought a B team season ticket at the start of the year for £85. So I've always been using that as well as sitting in the press box, sometimes with the rabble. So it's been good. I mean, I think to be fair, I'm obviously a bit, I'm not really impartial, am I? Because I enjoy watching the academy games. But I think it's good, see if people can make the B team game against Celtic at Ibrox, then go to it. Because also you'll get to see the level of the two teams. You can get behind the young lads. Hopefully we can put on another big performance like we did at Ibrox last year, where I thought we were absolutely magnificent that day. And yet again, if there's an opportunity, I think the Stirling Uni game at Dumbarton's been moved to 4 o'clock now as well. So if anybody's obviously watching the Rangers Celtic first team game that day, they can still make it along to Dumbarton to watch the B team play. So I think the club are trying their best to move times so that more people can get to the games. So hopefully that is something that people will take up.
And I probably shouldn't say this, right? But on Saturday, Cumbernauld Colts, well, it is a game that we should really be looking to win and win comfortably.
I just think whenever we play at home, we should be thinking that we're going to win the game. That should just be the mentality. I know sometimes away from home it can be tough. Some of the pitches aren't the best, the conditions, etc., aren't great. But see, at home, we can't really have any excuse. We've played at Dumbarton now for a few years. We know the pitch. We've got good players at that level. Zach Lovelace is probably better than Lowland League level, as is a lot of the other guys in the squad. So we should be good enough in the home matches in particular to be winning games of football. And, that game of Saturday is definitely a winnable game for the B team.
CGM, we are always going to have inconsistent results at that level with the chopping and changing the side, absolutely, of course. Michael, so we've got a B team defence that can't stop losing goals and a first team defence that loses the softest goals. This isn't shaping up too good. You've got to laugh or you'd greet.
Yeah, look, I think it's something we've brought up a couple of times on the podcast this year, so we're not hiding away from that fact that we have conceded a lot of poor goals. And at the end of the day, see, when you keep conceding those type of goals, people will just continue to bring it up, and they're right to. Because see if we're not working on it, or we're not doing enough to stop the goals coming in, or even stop the crosses coming into the box. See if you've got an issue from cross balls, then try and stop the crosses coming in. See if we're not defending set pieces well, then we need to be working on them more at training. Because see, at the end of the day, any one of those guys at any given time could get moved into the first team. And they've got to be ready to step in there and also do the job they're paid to do. Obviously, Bailey coming on against Livingston was amazing. Absolutely brilliant for Bailey. And he's very much deserving of it. The kid's a really good player. But I think, as the manager has said previously, it's not an easy step going from the Lowland League into the first team. It's a massive step. And only so many players will get the chance to do that. That's the reality of it. So for me, it's all about, sort of working on the problems that we've got, and that is basically some of the defending into the box hasn't been good enough this year, and unless that improves, the chances of us winning all 6 of the remaining games is going to be extremely difficult in the Lowland League.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Michael wants to know, is it pay at the gate?
Yeah, mate, it's always pay at the gate in the B team games. You also can buy the tickets online, and if you do it early enough, they will post them out to your home address. If not, you can pay for the ticket and then obviously collect it at Dumbarton. It's normally one of the ladies for the club that's normally handing them out. So yeah, that's not a problem. Or as I say, you can just pay at the gate on the day of the game. So if anybody is available for any of the home games at Dumbarton, I think you should try and take in one of the games. Or as I say, the up and coming Rangers Celtic B team game is going to be at Ibrox. I think the club are just waiting to confirm it. So if that's something that you can obviously make the game, then I would definitely say give it a chance and go and watch the guys play.
Okie doke. Right, let's discuss the Tournoi International Under-19s tournament. Now, it's an Under-19s tournament, Willie, right? But do you want to give an explanation of what the tournament is, why we went there, and roughly what players were there? Obviously, don't give me a list of every player, but, was it the Under-18s? Was it the B team? Who was all there?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a mixture. We kind of picked guys from a couple of the different age groups, basically. In the main, it was the Under-18s group with a handful of players that have played for the B team, and there was also a 16 there in Connor Campbell. So that was a great experience for him. Obviously, people will be aware, if anybody's seen any of the games on YouTube, I try to kind of post the links on there. Then obviously you can maybe, I've seen 1 or 2 of the games. Not that they were that great, to be fair. I kind of gave up after about the 3rd game, but because I'm that silly, I just kept watching. We obviously started off against AMF, which was the Academy Mohammed, the football. Unfortunately, in that game, because yet again, some of our defending was poor. This was in the group stage, so we played 2 games in the group stage. So we lost that game 4-2. The next game we played against Marseille, and we were behind literally until the last minute of the game, and Zach Lovelace scored 2 late goals, which sent us through into the knockout stage. We then played another Moroccan team called Faf Union Sports. Yet again, some really poor defending. We lost the game 2-1. We then kind of went into the kind of final placement stage of the tournament, which is basically where you finish. We were 2-0 up against Lyon, looking quite comfortable, and we then shot ourselves in the foot, and we lost 3-2 due to some poor defending. This is sounding like a broken record. And against Real Madrid, we were really, really, really poor, in all honesty. I know we had some guys missing because of injury. Some players had went back home to be ready for the B team game. But in all honesty, the 4-0 defeat to Real Madrid was fair, and it could have been a few more. I don't think there's a huge amount of positives to take for the tournament, other than the fact that Archie Stevens returned after several months out injured, so it was great to have Archie back.
So for folk, William, who are maybe not as clued up as me and yourself, Archie Stevens, let people know, who is he, what age level is he playing at? And I know that he's a talent that Rangers are really excited about.
Yeah, look, Archie came in the summer from AFC Wimbledon. He was somebody that the club, I think, were really desperate to get, and they managed to get the deal over the line. He's an England youth international, and unfortunately, that's where he picked up his injury. He was doing really well for the Rangers under-18s. As most people will be aware, Archie came off the bench in the Cup game and made his first team debut. So Archie is obviously kind of known to some of the fans that will watch the first team games as well. Unfortunately, as I say, he picked up a really bad injury playing for England, and he's been out for, I think, like 5 months. So it's been a real blow, because Archie was outstanding at the start of this season. Some of the football that he was playing was right up there. So not having him has been a real blow, to be honest, and it's been noticeable, that Archie's been missing because of his quality. So to have him back, he obviously travelled to Morocco. He played in pretty much most of the games. Not obviously the sort of every minute, every game, but he was involved. So that was good for Archie. And then obviously the big name was Thompson Ashaka. He was obviously part of the squad. He was the guy that showed up quite well when the club played Glentoran in the summer and against Elgin City. I think the defender took a bit of a kind of beating that day against Elgin, didn't he? He said he was twisting left, right, and everywhere else. So yeah, Thompson has come back in. He's now 18, so the club can now sign him. It looks like that's going to happen pretty soon. But he did look a wee bit short of fitness as well, so it might take him a wee while to get up to speed in terms of game time.
Yeah, just really quickly, Wally. Cody's asking, will Morning Rabble return? CGM's saying, aye, what happened to the Morning Rabble? Because everybody works, it was just becoming impossible to schedule it. Unfortunately, once the Rabble is full time, once I go full time, there will be a daily show on Patreon every single day, plus more and more episodes. So there'll be loads of stuff coming. It was just simply down to scheduling. And William, you'll back me up there, because it was actually most of it had to be down to you because of the hours that I work. It was just too difficult in the end.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's very time consuming. I mean, like the Morning Rabble, even though we didn't come on until 11, you were probably sitting trying to take notes. You were trying to see if it was in the morning newspapers. You were checking, obviously, the online stuff. You were trying to find out something to basically talk about every day. And it was becoming extremely difficult. And then, as you said, a lot of the guys just weren't available to come on. But look, it's not something that's disappeared forever. You know, it's still very much in our mindset to do it again. It's just hard during the kind of transfer periods to do it, because there's not always something to chat about every single day. But look, if there is availability for it to happen even a couple of times a week, then we can look to do it. But it's just hard to do it Monday to Friday when we just don't have the bodies available during that time of the day, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's no big secret behind it, but there you go. Right, okay, William. What else have we got to talk about?
Well, obviously, we can touch on the 18s games. The last two games there were 2-0 victory against St Mirren away from home. Tyler Pasnick and Bailey Rice. We actually played quite well that night, but we just weren't clinical enough. I know we won 2-0, and that sounds a bit silly, but we should have won by a few more goals. And then we played a friendly game against St Johnstone, which was a really good game, actually. I quite enjoyed that one. Kieran Willocks and Chris Eddy scored. Obviously, St Johnstone are one of the other teams in the semi-final. They're playing against Celtic, so it was interesting to see where they are in terms of their quality.
They're the league below, aren't they, St Johnstone?
Yeah, look, it's sort of structured differently now, so they're kind of in the league below the league that we're in. Although I've got to say, I didn't think there was a huge amount of difference. But obviously, a lot of it just comes down to the funding within the academies. And obviously, not every club's got the money to keep putting that investment in there, and you totally understand why, when for most people the first team is a priority every single week.
Yeah, listen, 100%. One thing you did actually mention before we came on was obviously Zach Lovelace picked up an injury.
Yeah.
We weren't sure how serious it was going to be. I believe his foot was even in a boot for a bit as well. That's
I think that was basically a precaution. I think anytime players take that kind of knock, there's always a precaution that they'll put the moon boot on, I think they used to call it. I don't know if it's still called that now, but the big grey boot that's like strapped up to their knee almost. But it sounds like Zach's fine. I think he played yesterday in a bounce game, so that was good for Zach. He will obviously be available for the weekend, so that's... It's hard to say anything about Zach because he's been so good for the B team, but he just wants to play every single game. And it's really difficult to sometimes tell the lad that he's not playing. And I think the game against Real Madrid might have been a good opportunity to tell him that he didn't need to play. But I think Zach's just somebody that wants to play. And like even in these under 18, Scottish Youth Cup ties, Zach just wants to play. And I would imagine he'll play at Ibrox against Hamilton Accies along with Bailey Rice, because I think as long as the kid's available to play, then he wants to. And you've got to love that attitude, to be honest with you. That's just the kind of guy he is.
What I'll do for the next kind of few shows before the end of the season is I probably should have ran this by you, William, before we started, but I'm going to do it firstly on this show anyway, because you know how I like to just jump in there with stuff. We're going to spotlight one player for the next 6-7 shows, however many we've got left. And it's a boy you've mentioned 3 or 4 times now, and he's had a wee shot in the first team as well. Bailey Rice. Sky's the limit for him, is it not?
Yeah, look, I think even at his young age, Bailey looks like he's a quality footballer. He's somebody that he just always seems to have time in the ball. He never really seems to get too flustered. He always knows where he is. He always knows he can take a touch. He's got the ability to stride forward with the ball. He's a good set piece taker. And to me, I wasn't surprised that he got his opportunity that day against Livingston. Maybe a little bit earlier than maybe what I thought he would have got it. But anybody that's seen Bailey Rice probably in the last year or two, even when he was at Motherwell, the kid just had something about him. And it's no real surprise that the managers took a liking to him pretty quickly. And I think with Bailey, he has got so much potential, just like Zach Lovelace, to be honest, and Archie Stevens. All three of those guys have that something that just kind of sometimes pushes them above maybe some of the other players. That's not to say that the other players are not going to be good enough to play for Rangers, because that's not the case. But there's just always something within a player that you just see and you think that guy's got something about him. It was a bit like when you watch Billy Gilmour, when you watch guys like sort of Deary Mabudi, like Deary had that ability to take players on to do magical things, to score, big goals in big games. He obviously moved on to Manchester City. He's done really well there. Obviously, Rory Wilson's ability to score all the different types of goals that he did while he was at Rangers, he's now doing that at Aston Villa. Some players just have that extra 1% about them, and I think that's just a natural thing for players. But certainly those three are outstanding footballers. But Bailey's somebody that I think in the next year or two will just get better and better and better, and will slowly become a huge part of the first team squad, and somebody that I hope will be at Rangers for a long time, to be honest with you.
Well, CGM's asking the question, would we risk starting Bailey in a cup game at Ibrox against a team who I can't remember and wrote Partick Thistle the first time? I would be amazed if Bailey got any kind of start this season, but I do genuinely believe that he is definitely one for the future.
I don't think you should ever say never on these things. I mean, Raith Rovers are going to be difficult. Just like Partick Thistle were a difficult team to play against at Ibrox. But see if the manager's got confidence in Bailey, or he's got that confidence in Zach or Archie or any other player that he thinks is good enough to play, whether that's Leon or Alex Lowry or Adam Devine, whoever it may be, then these guys will be there on merit. Sort of Bailey get put in the bench because the manager thinks he's good enough to be in the bench, and then he come in and he showed that he can come on in the first team game. Obviously, Zach's had his opportunity off the bench, as has Paul Ncio and Archie Stevens. Robbie Fraser obviously played in the friendly game after the winter break. So the manager has shown that he'll give players an opportunity. Whether he's going to continue to do it between now and the end of the season and the start of next season, we'll just need to wait and see. But certainly that day against Livingston, it was absolutely brilliant to see Bailey coming off the bench and getting that special moment, because Bailey's obviously a big Rangers fan. It's like his dream come true for him and his family.
100%. Okay, William, thank you very much.
A pleasure as always, mate.
Is there anything that I've missed, by the way, just before we go?
I think I can just talk about the next couple of games for the teams. If anybody is in the local area, as I say, Saturday, 12 o'clock, Cumbernauld Colts at Dumbarton. It's pay at the gate, or you can order your ticket online and collect it. The 18s are away to Hibs on Friday night. So if anybody's close to the Hibs training centre, it's a 7 p.m. kickoff. And as I said earlier on, I'm sure people have probably seen it on Twitter already, but Rangers are playing Hamilton Accies in the Scottish Youth Cup semi-final. And that's 7 p.m. And I think tickets are £6 for adults and £2 for concessions. And another thing we're hoping to do maybe in between the academy pods is maybe do a wee loan review, so we can look at some of the players. So we will touch on Connor Young, who's just recently gone out on loan. We'll touch on guys like Jay Hogarth, Cole McKinnon, Kai Kennedy. We'll go through this, but we're going to make it slightly independent of the academy review. We're going to make it a kind of loan review as well. So if you keep an eye out for that, we're definitely going to be doing that as well.
There you go. That's all you need to know. For any members watching, there will be a live Q&A at 8 p.m. on the Rabble members YouTube channel. At 9 o'clock tonight, I done an interview today with Martin Ramsey from Heart and Hand, who's got his new book out, Revolution, Rangers 1986 to 1992. I spoke to Martin for a long time about that and some other stuff that's going on at Rangers now. That'll be available on Patreon and for our YouTube members as well. And then it'll be available for everybody on Monday. Yeah, I'm not about for everybody on Monday. So just again, thank you to William. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. And we shall speak to you very, very soon. Cheers, guys.